But all told, the plan for today is that this weekend, Friday is the qualifier, Saturday is day one, and Sunday is day two, is an arena qualifier that is going to be limited. And since I have spent the entirety of all of my free time enjoying and learning new standard, I know nothing about Dominaria United Limited. So today we're going to try to learn the entire format in a day. And then tomorrow we will have adventures. And that's basically it. I guess we're jumping in. Draft the good cards. Okay. All right. I think I can get behind that plan. Now we just need to identify what the good cards are, right? The only knowledge I have going into this format is stuff I've picked up mimetically from Twitter, and that seems to imply two things. One, the rares and mythics are not super bomby relative to the commons and the uncommons. And two, blue's really deep at common. And I like hearing colors are deep at common. Recommend the article Sam Black wrote about drafting defenders. Is that a one hyper-specific archetype? Because I recall the Sam Black Modern Horizons 1 saga that was like, here's how to draft 5-color snow? Something like that. So Wingmantle Chaplain is the defender's defining card. Is that what we're taking away here? So let's see. Do we have this in a way that's actually easily displayed? Or do we want it like this? I think we want it like this. I don't remember how we used to do it. Okay, so we have Temporary Lockdown, which seems like a pretty garbage rare. Join Forces seems like a very medium combat trick. Queen Alenal of Rudak seems like a medium fine green-white tokens payoff. Walking Bulwark is I suppose, relatively color-neutral, fairly decent card. Citizen's Arrest is fine removal. Destroy Evil is medium removal. Impulse is filler. Soaring Skydrake is eh. Tide Turner's fine. Battlefly Swarm's pretty actively bad. Writhing Necromass is fine. Bite Down's probably decent to good, and Deathbeam Gardener's probably decent to good. We think Destroy Evil is actually good. Okay. Is there just a lot of top end that has 4 toughness? Cut Down doesn't feel like it would be as premium removal in Limited. Like, still good, but mostly doesn't kill 3-drops that are meaningful. Whereas Rada Drobic feels like a kind of card that's probably solid. Oh, okay, destroying enchantments randomly also matters. Mesa Cavalier is probably fine in an aggressive deck, doesn't seem great in a defensive one. Tribute to Urborg's probably fine, better if you can pay the kicker. Hurler Cyclops is probably a fairly decent card overall. My guess is we're just probably supposed to take Rada Drobic here. Like, this card doesn't feel bad, and it's a build-around. I don't know if it's necessarily the kind of card that I would expect to actually be good in the long run, but it does seem like the kind of card that's worth experimenting with. Probably take Tribute or the land. Lands are quite good. Okay, so we want to be able to splash aggressively. Is that the idea? This is a 3-mana 3/3 that is mostly just a legendary. I do like a 3-mana 3/3, but there's also an easier to cast 3-mana 3/3. Benelish Sleeper is not a card I hate, because I do like me a 2-mana 3/1. We got Sacred Peaks that does splash red. We could take the Cleaving Skyrider and then get red fixing later. So do we think we should just take the Sacred Peaks over the Cleaving Skyrider then? Or does the Cleaving Skyrider just kind of... I don't know. Cleaving Skyrider feels like a bad card if you don't actually manage to get the kicker. Okay. Resolute Reinforcements is a fine 2-drop, and I do like having 2-drops. Argivian Cavalier I also like quite a bit. I like any 3-mana 3/3 I've ever seen, and this is essentially sort of a 3-mana 3/3, sort of a 3-mana 3/2. Iconoclast is probably the strongest card, but we can't play it. Artillery Blast, if you're being defensive, is fine, but I'd rather try to be aggressive where possible. We have an on-color dual land. It's Shadow Prophecies, probably fine. I think I'm inclined to take good 3s over fine 2s. Okay, we agree. Cavalier for good 3s as a reasonable option. Phasing of Zulfir, I am not terribly surprised to see at this point. G2 Amplifier, I kind of assume is like a pretty decent blue-red card, but I guess it's 2-color. Phoenix Chick, we're assuming is kind of medium, apparently. Writhing Necromass seems like it would be a pretty okay card, but we also have a 2-drop that's reasonless. Sort of disagree with good 3s over fine 2s since common 2s are pretty bad. Okay. Now that tends to be important to identify on whether a color combination has a higher density of good 2-drops or a higher density of good 3-drops in terms of what you tend to prioritize picking early. Necromass or Snaggleland, Herbalist is okay. And I don't disagree with Herbalist only being okay. I just kind of like filling out my curve early. Maybe that's wrong. Fire NATO seems pretty expensive. Juniper Order Rootweaver is a 2-drop, 2/2. Declares War doesn't seem particularly good. I suppose I would just take the Rootweaver here. Not really expect to be able to kick it ever. Ooh, alright. Now, Cleaving Skyrider to me feels like the kind of card that is actively pretty decent. Maybe that's wrong? But we've already got the Sacred Peaks to sort of enable splashing it, and nothing else in the pack is remotely appealing. I'm not even sure if this is the one that... Yeah, this isn't the one that wheeled, or that we were looking at earlier. This is pick 7. Okay. Charismatic Vanguard seems like a reasonable card. Benelish Sleeper is also a fine 2-drop. Tori is hypothetically in our colors. We definitely have the fixing to be able to go white-red. And, I mean, we don't have the fixing to be able to go white-red, but we absolutely have no hard commit to any other colors. And this card feels like it's got a higher maximum potential than just a 2-drop 3/1. I don't like expensive combat tricks, but I don't like Battlefly Swarm either. Sleeper's a good 2? Yeah, okay, that tracks. Feels like a good 2. I don't know if, like, actively unexciting 2, but a good 2. Here, I think we just take Hurler Cyclops. This feels like it ought to be a good card. Being able to sacrifice things to go face has historically been appealing. Now, if we end up in Mardu, Aggressive Sabotage is interesting. Molten Monstrosity is potentially interesting. I think I've heard good things about Smash Dust, specifically because it's nice to be able to blow up all of the flyers out of Defender decks to have, like, the first copy of that accessible. Mythic Drafting. Hurler Cyclops is kind of mopey, really. I mean, if I'm playing aggressive decks, I tend to value the capacity to do the last 5 points of damage, even if my opponent has blockers and is, like, taking total control of the board. So I don't think we care about Urza Assembles the Titan. Mossbeard would be cool in green. Nail, I don't know, it's got decent defensive stats if you're trying to, like, play to the late game. Phyrexian Warhorse, kind of interesting in black-white, but we're not sure if we're in black-white. Keldon Strike Team seems like it works with the rest of the red-white theme that we got going on. Keldon is very good red-white? Okay, sweet. That is what I'm thinking. Squeeze just gotta be like a pretty decent 3-drop. I'd have to imagine. Cavalier seems like it would be something we were interested in. Benelish Faithbonder, I don't know whether we're supposed to like that. Mary's Outrider, this card has like actually really impressed me. Although we have no lands to splash it with right now, so maybe this isn't the deck where it would be the most impressive. Mary's Outrider is the better Hurler Cyclops. Yeah, I could see that being true pretty often. The card that you just want more. Squeak. I do think that, like, in Limited, just having an escape card is pretty strong. So, that tracks. That tracks. Then, we have Heirloom Battle Rhythm, which is a fine removal spell, and we're in the right colors for. Mesa Cavalier, which is a reasonable aggressive 3-drop. Currently, we only have 4 3-drops, so I'm not... Only 4. We have 4 3-drops, which is a lot of 3-drops, and I'm not necessarily interested in more. It does work nicely with Tori. So what do we think? Battle Hymn, Cavalier, or Outrider? Heirloom easy. Okay. We think having access to removal is important? Okay. I don't think that's wrong. I tend to prefer cheaper removal when I'm trying to build an aggressive deck, and currently this seems like a black-red aggressive deck to me. You know what, let's switch this back because I do actually want to be able to see my curve. I think that matters more than having larger cards. So we have Skyrider, Phoenix Chick, Cavalier, and Strike Team. I think I would lean towards Strike Team in these colors. I could be convinced that Phoenix Chick actually does sort of fit the deck. Strike Team is pretty essential to making Boros work. Yeah, the fact that this fills the roles of 3-drop and 5-drop feel pretty nice to me. Land isn't bad. Heroic Charge with the kicker that gives trample in red-white. I feel like that's a lot more important than the fixing on color in a 2-color deck that doesn't really need fixing because it wants to curve out. So we have Sprouting Goblin. It's mostly just a 2/2 for 2, but also helps avoid flooding out at some point, and we do kind of need 2-drops. Which is pretty much all upside over Root Weaver. If we tried to splash Garna... I guess Garna works with Hurler Cyclops. I'm more inclined to just make sure that I have enough 2-drops in a deck that wants to be aggressive and therefore doesn't want to miss land drops at all. Try to pick up a green-red or green-white duel if we see one. Is that just because we have Juniper Order Root Weaver in the deck? Oh, and for Sprouting Goblin now we have two reasons to be rewarded for green kickers. Hammerhand, almost interesting. I still think that I just take more 2-drops where possible. Garna's kind of bad? Okay. Captain's Call seems like it could work with the deck. I don't know, is it worth it to try to make Outriders work at this point? Or does Captain's Call with the Heroic Charge Tori deck just seem better? I feel like the fact that I've drafted lands so lowly means that I'm kind of not hugely into what do you call it? Picking up Maria's Outriders speculatively at this point. Ooh, Argivian Cavalier. Ooh, okay, we got options here. I could have had a lot of Phoenix Chicks in this deck, which is sad because I don't think this deck doesn't want Phoenix Chick. Call's really good with Heroic. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. So, Phoenix Chick or Baird, I don't think we need Cavalier because we don't want a lot of 3-drops. Baird, if we end up splashing Root Weaver works. Join Forces. Heroic Charge, Tori. I think I'm supposed to take Baird. Maybe it's just supposed to be Phoenix Chick and that there aren't enough ways to use Baird, but it seems fun with Hurler Cyclops if we can make that work. If we're going that direction, do we want Phalanx? Works. Oh, it works within list. Okay, so the Cavalier actually does kind of make that work then. Interesting. Good point. I don't know if our... Is Phalanx something we want? I don't think I need more filler 2-drops at this point. Artillery Blast is probably actively not interesting in a deck that wants to be attacking. Like, this never actually removes anything that wants to block. And Picker at this point is probably an upgrade over most of our other 2-drops. And we actively kind of don't want anything else. Well, here's an option for another Outrider. It's Outrider or Picker, because at this point I don't think we're splashing black. Oh. Ellis would be decent, but yeah, I just don't see us having the fixing for that. And I don't see us... I don't know. Picker still feels like an upgrade, but maybe I'm supposed to speculate on Outrider at this point? We could pick up a second Sacred Peaks, which I just don't care about in these colors. We've already got Molten Tributary if we're looking to splash. It's not the right color anyway. Salvaged Mana Worker for the kicker costs, is that actually, like, kind of a decent idea? I don't think I want more 2-drops, but I think this might be something we're sort of inclined to include. Yeah, the stat line definitely doesn't favor this deck. I agree with that. Here, I'm a little torn between the Captain's Call and the Cyclops. If we had more copies of Heroic Charge, I'd be more excited about taking the Captain's Call. If we don't end up finding any more top end, I think I'm going to wind up disappointed, but we'll live with it. It's probably Love Song of Day and Night here, right? We actually think we like Call? Take Up the Shield is good, but Love Song of Day and Night works with Baird and makes creatures and puts a lot of stats onto the board. I'm willing to believe that might be wrong. Take Up the Shield is much better. I guess Take Up the Shield does also work with Baird. Night of Dawn's Light has to just be a good 2-drop, and Cavalier I believe is a good 3-drop, but we have ample good 3-drops. Night working with Baird and just being a good card makes me, I think, pretty happy. Flowstone Kavu, also pretty decent. I don't really want to play Mesa Cavalier. I kind of want to play the Kavu, but yeah. Definitely don't need Juniper Order Root Weaver. We are in best of 3, so I'll take Smash to Dust for the sideboard against the Defender deck. Take a Tablet, why not? Take a Meteorite, why not? Take an Illusionist, sure. Take a Turtle, sure. So I'm assuming with 2 copies of Call, we're probably happy to play the Phalanx. So, let's see. Cleaving Skyrider is not necessarily a 3-drop, though it can be in a pinch. Join Forces isn't necessarily a 3-drop. Hurloon Battle Rhythm isn't necessarily a 3-drop. Heroic Charge isn't necessarily a 4-drop. Destroy Evil isn't a 2-drop. Okay, so we wound up probably having more 2-drops than we need. My inclination then is to say that Mesa Cavalier, Salvaged Mana Worker are probably our most cuttable cards, followed by Juniper Order. You think Joint Forces isn't that good? Yeah. I don't think it's great. So that could be the cut. So we think Salvage Mana Worker just, it's not worth it to pay the kicker on Juniper Order or Sprouting Goblin. And the fact that it's got the worst stat lines of the 2-drops just make it meh. I'm willing to believe that. And we have a Maria's Outrider we could play as a 5-drop 4/4 that does 2 damage. Does that seem good? Yeah, if I'm playing an aggressive deck like this, I usually like combat tricks to some extent, and I think that the priority with combat tricks is mana efficiency above all else, and Join Forces is not a combat trick that's mana efficient. What did we take over the Take Up the Shield? It was something else that I said synergized with Baird. Oh, was it Love Song of Day and Night? I don't know. Yeah, I don't hate that. I still kind of think Love Song of Day and Night is pretty reasonable for this deck in a lot of ways. Like Outrider more than Cyclops even in this deck. Even if it's only doing 2 damage. Is Reach that important? Because I'm viewing Hurler Cyclops as probably doing more than 2 damage on average. I mean, I wouldn't be against, say, also playing Outrider, but I feel like Hurler Cyclops is probably better on average, but I might be misevaluating that. Play 16 lands and add a 2-drop. So we think play 16, add Juniper. Yeah, we could do that. I'm kind of operating under the assumption that the fact that I have Goblin Picker and Sprouting Goblin means that I can play 17 lands and have more outs to that. I've also got Squee as a form of virtual card advantage that rewards me for blowing up my lands anyway. Do we want the Grotto? Like a single Grotto just as a colorless Scry land? It could hypothetically fix colors. Yeah, the Cyclops with 2 Captain's Calls and the Baird and the Squee all seem... and the 2 Keldon Strike teams. Like, I suppose if this deck... if Hurler Cyclops isn't better than Maria's Outrider in this deck, it will never be better in any deck ever. Not arguing Outrider is better than domain decks than here, making a statement about the relative value of Hurler Cyclops versus a 5-mana 4/4 that shocks on ETB. Right. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where I feel about Maria's Outriders in this deck. And mind you, it might be that Maria's Outriders as a 4/4 that shocks is worth playing. I don't necessarily know whether that makes it better or worse than Cyclops. I just think that that might mean that that is a card we also want to play. Grotto is a free green source. Okay. Yeah? No, that's fair. I feel like if I'm playing Grotto, I don't want to go down to 16, though. Well, it doesn't stop us from curving out in the sense that every single one of our cards has generic costs, and it doesn't enter tapped. Other than Baird is the thing that it doesn't let us play onto. That does kind of make me more interested in the other Juniper Order Rootweaver. But, so I'm interested in Outriders, I'm interested in Rootweaver. Aside from cutting a land, which I'm slightly leery of doing, is there anything else that seems just kind of actively uninteresting? How do we feel about Mesa Cavalier relative to Rootweaver? I mean, I don't love that it turns Rootweaver with Kicker into a 4-drop, but there's hypothetically times where that's free. Or, well, not free, but the best of all available options, hypothetically. Howdy, Flying Tinker. How goes it? Kicker stuff being cheap makes it less appealing? Yeah, I can see that. It's better for paying expensive kickers in the late game that are more high impact than this. I do like Mesa Cavalier in the sense that it works well with Love Song of Day and Night. More flyers to put counters on is better than putting counters on non-flyers. Why are there advertisements for visiting Cleveland? Have you done any searches related to it? I asked because I looked up food places in New York to recommend food places to a friend who was in New York, and have been getting advertisements for traveling to New York since. Grotto's a little awkward here. Maybe Mana Worker would be better. Mind you, Grotto is replacing a basic right now. It's not really replacing a creature. I think Hurler is a bad card in general. That may be true. I'm willing to give it its chance. I've played a lot of Magma cards before, and I have been impressed by Magma in the past. It's usually a staple top end of aggressive cards for the same reason that Maria's Outrider is. But again, I do kind of want to fit Maria's Outriders anyway. I have no clue how good to expect Argivian Phalanx to be. Part of me wants to just cut it for Outriders, but that could be wrong too. Phalanx is very solid? Okay. Yeah, Phalanx works with Captain's Call, but like at that point it's still just a 5-drop 4/4 Vigilance because we have to play at the turn after Captain's Call. But I guess we can also like play a Love Song of Day and Night and Phalanx on the same turn. So like the fact that on turn 5 it's a pretty powerful way to play 2 spells on a turn is supposed to be the idea. Okay, yeah. Curving Cavalier into a 4/4 Phalanx I do like better, yes. I do like 4 mana 4/4s. You have now sold me. I'm kind of desperately looking for a way that I can just play the Outriders. Do we just cut Join Forces? Is Join Forces bad enough that I can cut it and not feel bad, and then play the Outriders? Yes? Cool. Sold. Join Forces is pretty good in this deck. Yeah. Alright. So then if we want to fit in Join Forces, what are we cutting? Normally, my instinct would have been to cut Destroy Evil pretty aggressively. Long before now. But I'm trusting chat that it actually is good. Also, do we think Samite Herbalist is better than Juniper Order Root Weaver now that we have a Crystal Grotto? I understand it works with Cavalier, and Scrying is cool. 2/1 that attacks to scry 1 and gain 1 life might be better than just a 2/2. Scry is useful. Yeah, okay. I don't disagree with that. That makes sense to me. Unless the answer is we should cut a 2-drop and go down to 5 creatures in the 2-drop slot to play Join Forces, I don't know how to fit Join Forces at this point. Got a Captain's Call? Yeah. I don't think I want to cut Captain's Call in this deck. Maybe I'm supposed to because I don't have a ton of pump spells, which is, I have to imagine, what makes Captain's Call better. But we've also got Hurler Cyclops and the Phalanx. And the Torii. Join Forces does technically work with Baird. Okay, so Outrider is actually what we would consider the most reasonable cut here. You think the Cyclops is going to end up being too cute? Okay, well, so at that point, I think what happens is we say we definitely play the Cyclops because if we're contentious about it, it's worth testing. If we really can't decide whether a card should be cut or not, that same logic applies to Join Forces, that it's got a high educational value to keep in the deck. Okay, we'll cut the Outrider, play the Join Forces, swing it like that. Because I think I have a vague understanding of how good Outrider is. And I think I don't have a particularly fantastic understanding of how good Join Forces is. Alright, we take the play. We're on the play with no 2-drops. Destroy Evil is a 2-drop, but not a real 2-drop. We have a medium 3-drop and no follow-up 3-drop. I kind of feel like this one's got to be a ship it. And also this one, which is a bad start, because this is limited. Definitely getting rid of Join Forces. Probably getting rid of well, can I get rid of Torii? Maybe it's Phalanx. Not having a 2-drop to curve out with Love Song of Day and Night kind of hurts. Is there a world in which I play Love Song of Day and Night and actually read the first chapter to give myself time to put the counter on Tori? Good work, 2-drop, just in time. I think the answer to that is sadly yes. Not against blue-red? We don't think so? We're just assuming they have too many removal spells for Tori? No, you know what? I'm gonna go with the first chapter, and my logic is I mulliganed to 5. I am going to run out of resources sooner than my opponent. Well, they do discard if they play combat research, I guess. If they don't have another 2-drop. They probably do. Oh, they don't! Sweet! The value! We got him! Sort of. Okay, I'm going to operate under the assumption that my opponent's probably leaving up like an Essence Scatter here. If they absolutely didn't want to spend 2 mana, the likelihood they have no 2-drops is pretty low. Although they played Battlewing Mystic on 2. I kind of want to trade off this 1/1 for that 2/2, so I think I just play Captain's Call so that I have 2 creatures in play for the Love Song. Also, what counterspells exist in this format? Oh, my birdie got removed. Negate exists, okay, and Essence Scatter exists, and Protect the Negotiators, but that would probably be more of a blue-white deck. Keldon Flame Sage, sure, unfortunately that does block well. We are not off to the most rollickingly good, aggressive start here. Although the Cleaving Skyrider is pretty good if we hit a land drop. Furious Bellow. 5 power, first striker. Okay, well. Keldon Flame Sage going to get value. They find a removal spell that hits Tori. They do. They hit a very good removal spell that hits Tori. Disappointing. No sense in blocking. Opponent's creature has first strike. We can still kill the Flame Sage if we draw the untapped land with the Skyrider. Opponent's still drawing more cards with the Battlewing Mystic, which gives us additional value for the Skyrider. Opponent does not have a 3-drop to play, which I find slightly skeptical. How do I set a stop on the damage phase? Can I just turn on full control and pass into it? Okay. So now, after our creatures have done damage, so they can't respond with a removal spell here and kill one of my creatures to change the number of attacking creatures down to 2, now we will flash in the Skyrider. And then debate whether we want to target Flame Sage, which gets removed. It's too bad Cleaving Skyrider doesn't say number of creatures that attacked this turn. That'd be better. Going after the Flame Sage is high risk when my opponent has this many cards, but I kind of think I have to take high risk plays because I'm so far behind. Okay, didn't matter. Works for me. My opponent has a lot of cards. I'm sure the fact that I made them draw an extra card hasn't helped in that regard, but still, sad. Yeah, okay, I was gonna say. More Thrill of Possibilities. Okay. More cards for the opponent. Less life for me. And a Balmor. Would describe the current situation as deeply medium. We are going to need to somehow outvalue the opponent here. A pile of 1/1s has done a very good job of becoming completely irrelevant pretty quickly. Cleaving Skyrider blocks if able. Oh, that's fine. We have flyers we want to block anyway. I actually think it was kind of useless for them to kick that, to be entirely honest. Six cards deep. What do they find? They find draw 2 cards. Okay. Moderately scary. You must block if able. You will block while able. We will double block here and take 4. Oh, and also take another 4, so we're dead. And I needed to put more block on the Flame Sage. When did you get Trample and how? Oh, Balmor gives everyone Trample. Okay, so we were like hyper dead. Right. I forgot Balmor was good. Probably board out Destroy Evil. I can get behind that. And definitely board in Outrider. Reach seems good. Other than that, do we feel... I'm a little worried about the number of 3 toughness things we've seen and the lack of capacity for me to get my 2/2s through 3 toughness things. But other than that, I don't have any changes that I'm like hyper interested in making. Take the play. Keep a hand with a playable 2-drop. Join Forces does kind of address that problem of not being able to get any of my 2 drops through 3 toughness creatures. Are there 1-mana instant speed spells in this format that would encourage me to leave up either red or... There's a red -2 spell? +2, -2? That's at least 1 instant in red that we can represent on turn 1. Okay, 3rd land. So we can do our Love Song of Day and Night thing on turn 2. Or rather, on turn 3. Play our land, attack with our 2/1, Captain's Call. I don't need more Captain's Calls right now, I think. 2 damage is decent. Love Song of Day and Night. Hope it does not get counterspelled. It does not. We make a bird token for tempo purposes. I guess it is sort of interesting to, on the draw, force your opponent to draw 2. Or when you're on the play, when your opponent is on the draw, forcing them to draw 2 could be interesting, but that comes at the cost of not developing your board faster, which I'm not super interested in here. Oh, more. Or it goes quite poorly. That's also an option. Alright, well, we'll Captain's Call. My opponent having Smash to Dust, that kind of does a lot to, like, hurt this entire archetype, huh? Interesting. Alright, well, opponent's got a creature that blocks my entire board relatively well. I did just make a bird. I think I got punished for just making a bird, though. That's the amusing part. Alright, the land is not, like, super upsetting. Cleaving Skyrider's looking good. Oh, this can hit the opponent's face? Oh, shoot. I didn't realize that. Wow, that's really good. So I could do 6 to their face, 5 to their face plus 3 is 8, so that's not lethal. So yeah, I guess we still just kill this blocker. Alright, the tempo's not embarrassing here. Despite the 1 damage to everything really brutalizing us. Block, block. So my feeling here, if I join forces targeting strike team and a 1/1, they have to remove the 1/1 that I'm targeting with join forces. Oh, but timely interferences to give a creature -1 means that I only do 4 damage to them. If I join forces both soldiers, then if they can kill 1 soldier, I'm only dealing 4 damage and I don't save my strike team. But if I join forces targeting 2 creatures, I think given that we saw... Oh, we saw Timely Distraction or whatever it was called and Flowstone. I think I want to play around Flowstone here. And Flowstone means not targeting 2 1/1s. Okay. Or they don't have anything and it's lethal. Now knowing the opponent has boarded into the capacity to deal 1 damage to all of our creatures, I think that actually makes me want to cut the Herbalist for the Root Weaver. I think surviving that and diversifying when we have so many things that get blown out by Smash to Dust is probably correct on the 2-drop slot specifically. Should get rid of Captain's Call. We don't have anything we can bring in, though. I don't disagree that I do not love Captain's Call in this matchup, but yeah, I think we just don't have any capacity to actually board it out successfully. Because Samite Herbalist and Destroy Evil were also cards we cut in this matchup already for not being good by the looks of it. Okay. These are real Magic cards. I like real Magic cards. I would love to draw a love song of Bird and Bird. Oh, we got the Juniper Order Root Weaver and the Baird and the Crystal Grotto. My goodness, that's everything. We're not, like, ever going to really have the time to do that, but... Oh, you're vigilant? Wow. That's pretty good. Alright, well, Cavalier can actually attack, so hello, Cavalier. You're not going to attack with Baird because that has utility with other creatures later on. Well, Soaring Drake is pretty decent. Squee. You just attack and get blocked by Soaring Drake, but you do make a 1/1? Does that 1/1 matter to me? Let's scry and see what we're looking at next turn. So if I draw Strike Team, I'm not playing it next turn, but it's probably good eventually. Juniper does also make a 1/1. This is true. Only if whatever we put a counter on doesn't die. So I could play Tory and accomplish nothing, but I think Root Weaver might actually be the pick. And then I think we do draw the strike team. We'll draw our 5th land eventually. I could play Tory this turn, and then pump Tory next turn. No, I don't actually think that I can. I think that means it's Juniper or Root Weaver. I think we put the counter on the Mesa Cavalier. I don't want to put the counter on the Baird because then it exposes the Baird to removal. Opponent draws too. Cool. Haunting Figment can't be blocked. Haunting Figment seems pretty reasonable. Like, just a deeply reasonable Magic card. Okay, so my guess here is that it's probably Squee and Phalanx. And swing with Squee and the Cavalier. Squee pushes through 1 damage. Which is, eh. The alternative is just Tory. I think I want to develop the Phalanx. So on this turn, I can now swing with... I mean, I guess if I'm swinging with Squee, I can swing with everything. Because their only good block is with Soaring Drake. I probably don't swing with Baird. But I think that's the only thing I don't swing with. Like, Baird doesn't do anything this turn if they block Soaring Drake on Mesa Cavalier, but I think that that's just not a good block for them. Without a combat trick. I guess they can give the Cavalier -1, -0. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that seems fine to me. Because they could have done that to deny me the 1/1 off Baird regardless. They had Flowstone Infusion and didn't use it to deny me a Squee attack. Huh. Oh yeah, Shore Up's pretty good. That's true. Ooh, okay. Opponent doesn't want a blocker because they have a 5/5. Okay, fair. Unfortunate, but fair. Probably not worth attacking this turn. Alright, that's a problem. And Fire Nado for the Tory, so I still can't attack. I'm getting pretty brick-walled by a single 5/5. Was gonna say, I would like to draw Join Forces, so that's cool. Unfortunately, unless they block exactly the Phalanx, I'm kind of in trouble. And they do not block the Phalanx. But if they don't block the Phalanx, then we just do a bunch of damage and I get to play... Do we play Squee from the graveyard here? Or Captain's Call? They're both kind of the same deal. But I think playing Squee at sorcery speed shows my hand off faster. But I think playing Squee doesn't run as hard into my opponent dealing 1 damage to my entire board. Flame Sage, sure. Terror on Squee? No. Okay. So opponent's willing to walk into the Join Forces. What is your interaction for Join Forces, opponent? Furious Bellow is a very good card. Well, they've got a lot of cards and continue to have a good blocker. I would like to draw the +2/+1 to the team card at this point. And there's the Smash to Dust that we have attempted to play around. And there's more blockers, which is not great. Okay, well then... let us Captain's Call and Goblin Picker this turn. Heirloom Battle Hymn, no kick. Got it. Alright, now at this point, Cleaving Skyrider is close to decent. I forgot we had a tap land in our deck. That actually kind of changed how I should have played earlier. So many cards for my opponent is pretty good. If I attack with everybody, they get 3 blocks, which means we only do 4 damage, which isn't lethal, so no attack. I'd feel better if my opponent wasn't drawing 3 cards a turn. Heroic Charge, Outrider, Heirloom Cyclops thingy would be fine. Whoa, Swinging with Terror. Okay. Yeah, I will block. Interesting. Can Heirloom Battle Hymn do lethal? Probably not. We kill the Kavu, we gain 4 life up to 10. Swing with everybody. Hit for... 4? Steel Crusher is the only thing that survives. Well, you know what? I think that's probably still correct to do. They're 1 short of lethal on the crackback, even if they remove our blocker. And if they kill Squee, we get Squee back. Oh, they can avoid blocking with the Rada. I missed that, so we're dead. Yeah, so we did. I did my math wrong. I thought that they died if they blocked with the Rada. Or if they didn't block with the Rada. So that meant that I couldn't attack with all tokens. I had to leave 1 back. And even then I would die to a removal spell. Yeah. Alright, that's my mistake. I wonder if that means the correct move there was not attacking? Possibly. I feel like that game raised some interesting questions about how difficult it can be to build a deck that revolves entirely around synergies that fall apart if your opponent has a common spell that people are incentivized to draft that does 1 damage to all creatures. Okie dokie, I'm happy to keep this. Not attacking does give us the opportunity to draw into one of the 2 cards we had that was basically lethal on the spot. So there was merit to it. Believe I'm okay trading either of these creatures with an electrostatic infantry. This gets permanent counters over time, is that right? Yeah, okay. So they elect not to even block. And now things begin to fall apart. Most any spell here, yeah, blows us out. So I can't attack with the picker. Which leaves us potentially stonewalled by an electrostatic infantry. We may not have enough capacity to remove... Wow, okay. Yeah, no blocks, opponent. Why do you not want to hold on to a blocker? What am I supposed to take away from this? What does this mean? Shore up. Okay. Shore up untaps and gives +1/+1 and a counter, so it's representing being a 4/5 blocker. I can't play 2 cards this turn. I think that means my line is just attack with everybody and accept that I'm only going to deal 3 damage if they have shore up, and then hope they don't have more than just shore up. Lightning strike. Okay. Okay, well, that wasn't that bad. I don't think they should have attacked if that was all they had. Fire NATO on the picker. Opponent correctly doesn't attack. Are we okay trading a 1/1 for 3 damage here? I'm assuming the answer to that is probably yes. It's probably a rate I'm just supposed to accept. Anytime I can trade off a creature for 3 damage, I'm probably happy with it. Okay. So we lose the 4/4 and the 2/2 on an attack, but we do 5/8 damage, or we don't. So I sack 2 creatures for 3 damage currently. Don't believe that's acceptable. We have Remove Evil for the Electrostatic Infantry right now. Battling Mystic, man, it's... Blue-red decks that draw 3 cards a turn seem to be one of our natural weaknesses. The good news about the Battlewing Mystic, I suppose, is that it can't draw 3 cards a turn more than once. Okay. I like my opponent tapping their good blocker. I'm scared of what it represents. Okay. I do not think my opponent was supposed to bounce the 1-drop. Oh, I was going to say they should bounce the goblin, but apparently they can kill the goblin. Sadness. So do we sack the Baird to deal 3 damage? Four in the air puts us to 9. 2 spells kill us. I believe I sack the Baird to deal 2 damage. What? Oh, okay. I was not expecting them to block like that, but sure. Huh. Why swing with the Drake? Lethal. +3/+0 in first strike? If they have Twinferno, none of my choices matter. I'm going to block around +3/+0 in first strike. Okay, shore up makes sense. Wouldn't have been lethal. Does that make sense? If I hadn't blocked, I would have won. That hurts. I think blocking around the +3/+0 in first strike made sense given that attack. Skyrider hitting face is why if I had a 2/2 that could attack here, I would be fine, yeah. Skyrider can hit face, yeah. But hitting face for 3 doesn't do anything when they have an 8/9 blocker for the Phalanx. Only puts them to 2. Okay, so we still have to find Destroy Evil. Unfortunate. Heroic Charge is frequently looking like the card that would just instantly win the game if we ever drew it, which kind of makes me feel like I'm now supposed to consider Heroic Charge to be a very good common if I'm in this kind of an archetype. Because it is the kind of card that I'm currently looking at and going, I wish I had like 3 copies of this card. So once again, kind of uncertain about a 2/1 when my opponent can board in, deal 1 to all creatures. Kind of want Outrider. Destroy Evil did look good against Electrostatic. I don't want to cut Destroy Evil after a game where it looked like the best thing we could draw. So I guess we ship this? But I will say, it is definitely looking like the red-white deck. What we are frequently lacking is efficient combat tricks. Tori is single white, right? We don't have anything other than the charge in the deck that's double white. I think I'm actually willing to keep this rather than mulligan. We have 2 draw steps towards a white source, which isn't terribly likely, but we also have a fair number of red 2 and 3 drops. We're kind of taking a gamble here, but I think it's a gamble that I ultimately have to be willing to take. Alright, well. If we're not going to draw a white source or a 2-drop, Squee is probably the best card in the deck that we could draw. More white duplicates is not the goal. Haunting Figment blocking Squee does not surprise me. The good news is, if we only draw white cards that we can't cast, we are allowed to eventually discard to hand size enough to get Squee back from the graveyard. Cool. As tempting as it is to play Captain's Call into the 2-3, I think we Cavalier instead. My opponent found the deeply troublesome Cavalier answer. So I assume that I'm just trading off Cavalier with Soaring Drake here. I don't really think I have a good alternative to that. Shore Up eats our Cavalier, but it'd be an okay trade. My opponent left up 2 mana here. Showed us Essence Scatter last game. I really want to play Tori, but I also kind of just want to make a bird. So then the next turn I can put a counter on the Cavalier. Does that matter? That might not matter. I think it's a little too likely my opponent has either Essence Scatter or Lightning Strike here. Flowstone Infusion specifically. Huh, weird. Okay. Surprised they took that damage? That to me screams that they have Essence Scatter. Because I have to feel like they would have Flowstoned to gain 3 life if they weren't holding up something else there. It's not like you're holding up Flowstone to hit a post-combat 2 toughness creature. So Tori's pretty necessary on this board state, but at the same time, I'm putting my opponent on a pretty hard read of Essence Scatter. And they definitely don't have a removal spell, it would seem. Sprouting Goblin? Does that eat the Essence Scatter opponent? It does. Cool. Alright, now we can play Tori. Yay! I don't even know if that's good for me, but I'm happy to have identified what was happening and played around it. Battlewing Mystic. Still a very good card. Still need to find an answer to that Electrostatic Infantry. Okay. No, I dig it. I dig it. Let's go ahead and squee then. Do. Swing with everybody, stack triggers. This is the correct order for trigger stacking. Bling! Ooh, I untap my white creatures too. That's neat. Tory has trample, so after they block the Tory with the static infantry, we get to trample through for the rest of the damage. Boing! Alright. No shore up. That seems like a very good sign. So we lose a 2-2. Oh, are they? They're dead? Oh, apparently they're dead. Alright, alright. Well, that's an encouraging turn. Tori doing a very impressive impersonation of Heroic Charge. Let's see. Do not believe... They had 2 Haunting Figments and the Battlewing Mystic. I don't think that's enough reason to bring in Smash to Dust. It's not like 1 toughness creatures are really what we have trouble dealing with anyway. Ooh, okay. Bared into Love Song is a combo. Which I suppose raises an interesting question of, do I actually want to Baird on 2 into Love Song on 3, or would I rather Goblin Picker on 2 into Love Song on 3 into Baird on 4? Commits me to not playing a 4-drop on 4. But I'm going to go with too much likelihood my opponent has a counterspell or removal spell here. Also nice that apparently they mulligan to 5. They did in fact have the removal spell. Yeah, we can play the Grotto here. Cavalier. It's not great, but I don't think that at this point I'm willing to scry a non-land off the top of my deck. No, my poor bird! Alright, so Fires of Victory does successfully turn Love Song into, well, successfully 1-for-1's Love Song, I guess, is the point. But this means that having drawn the Cavalier actually turned out to be a good thing. We can't really enlist into the Haunting Figment, but we can attack with both and then play Hurler Cyclops, and that's cool. Oh no, my 1-1. Alright. Galarian Geyser looking good. We do probably have to trade off here. We are starting to flood. Oh, I didn't have to trade off there. Shoot, that was very bad. I forgot Hurler Cyclops can actually hit creatures and not just face. So we could have hypothetically sacked a creature. Oh well. I am willing to trade with my opponent's 5-5. They are not. How surprising. Play a Baird, play a Phalanx. Getting held back by the 5-5 pretty hard. Opponent forces us to block. Blows us out pretty hard if we make the double block, but considering I've already lost the Phalanx, all them having an interaction piece does is 1-for-1 a creature. Okay. Well, that doesn't seem like what they were supposed to have done in that case. But, alright, I'll take it. I think I win now that they made that mistaken attack. Can you sack yourself? No. Lame. Oh. Why can't you sack yourself? Boo! Yeah, I'm still allowed to double block. Who would have thunk? Yeah, so like if they had the shore up, I think it was actually better for me to make that block. Like I get 1-for-1 by the shore up, but then I know not to attack with my 5-4. No, I guess. So if I don't double block and attack with the 4-4, or attack with the 5-4, and they shore up and then block, I actually get to ping the thing for 1 by sacking the 2-2 that I keep alive. So it is better against shore up to not attack in that spot. That... No, wait, because shore up still doesn't kill both my creatures, does it? It does, because they had exactly 6 toughness. Yeah, okay. We'll take the play. Yeah, we'll keep. I think 2 Captain's Calls has definitely turned out to be too many in a world where we're lacking mass pump effects. We have 2, but 2 does not seem to be enough. So it's +1/+1 in hexproof, but I could have responded to the hexproof by sacking to ping it. I guess then they just don't block. Oh, why is the 2-drop always a turn late? I think we are playing the 3-mana pump spell. I think we're not playing the Maria's Outriders. Maybe we should swap out a Captain's Call at this point for the Maria's Outriders. I don't think that that's actually terribly unreasonable. Do we want to play Strike Team and attack? Or Knight of Dawn's Light? We probably just want to play Strike Team and attack, yeah? It's a lot more damage on the board. They probably trade Sleeper with it, which gets in for 3. Okay. Yeah, it seems like it's probably fine to me. Opponent's missing their 2nd color and lands. That's cool. So mostly I think we're just good because the opponent's missing land drops. Oh, finds more white mana. I don't think that's what they were looking for. Alright, well, So I enlist with Cavalier, swing with 3 1/1s, hit for 5 damage, losing a 1/1. Or I can Hurloon Battle Rhythm to do 1 more damage. I think I'd rather just Captain's Call than Battle Rhythm here. Wink. Phyrexian Warhorse. They finally top decked their other color. They make a 1/1. Sure. Okay. So, enlist, swing with everybody, trade with Protector. 5, 1 gets blocked, 4 damage, puts them to 5. Play Knight of Dawn's Light and Herbalist, not particularly appealing. Believe this is the turn then where we Hurloon Battle Rhythm. So I think we put the opponent to 5 here, which leaves them dead on board. No, they still... Are they going to chump block the Cavalier? And take a lot more damage? I don't know, opponent. I'm skeptical. Splatter Goblin. Sure. And then pass? Okay. Land drop at a good time? I'll leave it to the opponent to figure out how these blocks work out. Trade off Griffin Protector at long last for a creature that they could have killed all along? No. Eats the Cavalier. And then takes 7. Okay. Yeah, them not finding lands and they're off color. Understandably tricky to handle. So we saw no targets for Destroy Evil, although there was Warhorse is sort of a target for Destroy Evil. We've gotten to the point where I think that I'm happy cutting Captain's Call for an Outrider and probably should have done that originally. Opponent's not playing red, so I don't need to worry about cutting the Samite Herbalist. Smash to Dust. I've seen a fair number of things that Smash to Dust would be good against, but I have no idea what I would possibly cut for it. So, yeah. Is cutting Captain's Call correct here, just because I feel like we haven't drawn Heroic Reinforcements as often as we ought to have? I don't know. That might be me overcorrecting for what can definitely be considered some amount of variance. Hard to say. Not playing Crystal Grotto on turn 1, because with Love Song of Day and Night especially, there is a 2-drop we have that is red and white that we would like to be able to play on turn 2 if we drew it. Now that we have not drawn it, I believe I want a Crystal Grotto. Take advantage of the Scry. We'll get rid of the land that we do not want to draw, so I will call that being rewarded for the decision-making. Argivian Cavalier. Seems like a reasonable Magic card. There's the 2-drop a turn too late, as is tradition. I'm gonna go with one good horse deserves another. Opponent enlists. Am I willing to trade Cavaliers? Absolutely. Do you want to waste a combat trick? They say no. What do you do? 3 mana, 3/1, mills 3. Oh, hey, cool heroic charge. I'm happy to not play against that. And is card advantage from the graveyard after a long time. Got it. Feel like I'm probably obligated to hold back the 1/1 to block the 3/1. It does feel probably necessary. Opponent's missing land drops again. Opponent elects to trade their 1/1 for our 1/1. Okay. Well, that does mostly work out for them. Believe we're not going to make them draw cards. We're just going to go a little wide. Our 1/1 was better than the opponent's. I do think that the trade was correct for them to have made. They want to be aggressive. This implies to me they think they have a way to kill the Tory. Which is still fine because I think my creatures are important to me when I have Phalanx. Opponent has a 3/3. Okay. So if I pay 4 mana for Root Weaver, putting a counter on the picker so the opponent has no reasonable blocks, I can play post-combat Phalanx, not holding up Joined Forces. Run the risk of dying next turn? Alternative, don't play Root Weaver. Bait the opponent into a block, potentially. Unlikely that they ever block. No, because Tori and the bird are vigilant, so we're not really in any danger of dying next turn no matter what. Opponent can't make any blocks here that prevent me from doing anything. So we attack first to deny them information. Then we play our 4/4. Board state good and big. Hope the opponent doesn't board wipe us. Opponent hits untapped black land. Could board wipe us. Would be sad and bad. Opponent does not board wipe us. Opponent is at 9. Not enough mana held up to activate Aaron. Captain's Call, sure. This one just looks like a no math swing with everybody turn. Alright, so currently doing 5 damage, could push through lethal unless there's a 1 mana interaction spell. Do I know of any 1 mana interactive spells in black? There is Cut Down, could kill our 2/2. But Pumping the Root Weaver also gets blown out by the exact same Cut Down exactly as badly. So we just push through for lethal? I guess if I do the Root Weaver, then they take more damage down to 2. They don't kill my flyer, and the bird is around to kill them next turn. We do run the risk of a board wipe. I think putting the opponent on exactly board wipe and playing around Cut Down in better fashion is more correct here, because I'm also getting to activate Picker and Loot. Oh no, this isn't the Picker that gets rid of the card in the yard, or a land from the graveyard. It's the other goblin. Because they didn't have the board wipe last turn. Mesa Cavalier makes their life better. Okay. Kudos, opponent. I was not expecting you to have, like, infinite life gain. I think we keep Captain's Call when the opponent's board is mono X1s. So they trade with Picker, we do 2 damage, put them to 4, play Captain's Call. It's not lethal next turn if they play another blocker. Does that mean I hold back with the Picker? I think that means I hold back with the Picker. Oh, if that was the choice, I should have looted before attacking. Alright, didn't matter. But yeah, that was a mistake. I'm supposed to loot before attacking in case I hit any kind of pump spell, of which I think there's only 1 in the deck at this point, but still. Now, we're still representing lethal if the opponent doesn't have a blocker or an interactive spell. Shadow Prophecy is kind of the opposite of both of those things, but they do get to look at a lot of cards. And 1 piece of interaction or blocker does get them there. Battlefly Swarm blocks a Goblin Picker, which might once again mean that we are not swinging with this Goblin Picker because that is not productive. So let's go ahead and get rid of this tap land. Having fixed our mistake from last turn, immediately rewarded by finding a lethal haster. Yay! There are benefits to learning! We can improve! There's hope for us after all! Nothing quite as satisfying as identifying a mistake and immediately being rewarded for fixing it. So, 2-1. Did end up losing to a red-blue deck that felt inherently bad and identified some flaws in how I was prioritizing and building the deck. Notably, we did bring in Maria's Outriders basically every single game, even if we never drew it. Although partially that was because we played against two decks that had flyers that were annoying, but maybe if blue is a good color and there are a lot of common blue flyers that you want to play, that just makes Maria's Outriders very reasonable because reach is just something that inherently has a lot of value.